Welcome into another episode of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. I'm Jeff Goodman. He is Bob Ryan. And Bob, what do you got on there? I can't read that chart. What do you got?
Eagle Fieldhouse.
Oh, there it is. I spent many a days in there recently. Many a day.
Yeah, I bet you're not. You can wait a while before you get back, I'm sure. But I just thought I'd celebrate the fact that Brad Stevens said he's not coming. He ain't coming to Indiana. Just so anybody knows.
That was a strange way of putting it to me. When I don't know if you listened to that, but
I just read. I didn't hear him.
Yeah, it was basically like, I owe the Celtics this. I wouldn't leave them now. It wasn't like a ringing endorsement of I'm going to be here and I want to be here forever. And maybe it's because, listen, Celtics haven't been very good this year, and he knows there's some rumblings out there that some fans want him gone. Maybe he's heard that and he understands that. But, Brad Stevens wasn't going to leave. And this is what I tell everybody. He's not going to leave in the middle of a season unless he's fired. He is not going to up and leave. Now, he may leave at the end of the year and say, hey, this isn't working out, Danny. Let's go in a different direction. But he is not going to up and leave the team unless Danny Ainge fires him.
He's smart enough, as are so many others, to know history. He's not going to be a lifer. He's not going to be there 15 years.
That's not him.
Think about the history of the NBA. I can only, just jumping out at me, only two guys jump out at me that were one team head coach guys of legend.
Yeah.
Red and Pop.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anybody else jump out at you? Riley, different teams. Jackson, famously, two teams. On and on. I don't care for the most part. I'm talking about the true legends. So, some of the rest of them that they did 2, 3, 4 teams.
Yeah.
So it's
how many guys leave? How many guys are going to leave on their own free will in the middle of a season? Like how many coaches have ever done that, Bob?
Well, very few, but there's always an extenuating circumstance. Don Nelson in New York, he never should have taken that job. He wasn't ready to come back from he wasn't. It was too stupidly soon. What was the circumstance? When did Riley left after the season, right? With the famous fax.
Yeah.
Okay. No, not Nelson. I don't know that. I can't think of any too many.
It doesn't happen often.
No.
And Brad is not the type of guy to do that. There's some coaches that you would say, okay, you know what? Like Larry Brown, right? Like a Larry Brown, you would have expected
Speaking
that.
of no lifer,
Yes.
I mean, so that's more the norm. Larry's an extreme.
Right.
Larry is a pejorative. It's a reference point of how crazy it can get.
Right. Brad's the other way.
Brad, yeah. I mean, all I'm saying is that Brad knows it is not likely he will have another. This isn't his last coaching job.
No.
And he knows that. He's too young to know, and he knows that. And so, I think it was a classically well-crafted, well-stated, honest answer, to the circumstance. So anyway, now that he's, but do you believe for 1 second that $70 million?
Yes.
Oh, you do.
Oh, I do. Oh. I do. It was right around there. I was told the figure that was a little bit different, probably closer to $6.5 million a year. But yes,
you're Mike Woodson. What are you thinking? I mean, not that you were expect to get that,
but Brad. Here's the thing: Brad did take Butler to 2 championship games. Like
I know that, and
Brad's got a job. Brad's got an NBA head coaching job. So in order to get him, you're going to have to overpay. I saw there was a story that I think it was Deadspin or something like that wrote, Mike Woodson should feel horrible about this. I'm like, no, Mike Woodson was an assistant coach in the NBA. Brad is a head coach for the Boston Celtics. And by the way, what he did in the college ranks, I'll put up against almost anything ever done before. Getting Butler from the Horizon League back-to-back championship games, Bob. That's insane. Doing it clean
and come
that
very close.
Right.
To winning the first one. And by the way, I don't think about the Hayward shot, first one. I think about the one before that on the baseline, which was his shot.
Yep.
Not a heave. You win a heave, you get a sug shot.
Right.
Fine. That's luck. It is. It's luck. but but he had his shot in the baseline of the
He
possession.
did.
Before.
No, they absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we digress.
Let's get on to something a little bit more newsworthy.
We're looking at history.
We are looking at history.
We're looking at history. A man is in a league that's been in operation 75 years with any number of first names, Hall of Fame legends. The league has been built on guys with one name. Russ, Wilt, Magic, Larry, Michael, Kobe. On and on.
Yeah.
Steph, what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would assume that if anybody is listening or watching us, they have a pretty good idea. But I'm just going to very quickly say, I'm going down the last 11 games in order: 32, 36, 37, 41, 32, 38, 53. And by the way, starting with that game and the next four of his next 5 games, double figures in threes: 53, 42, 33, 47, 49. He's 78 for 158 on threes. Just under 50%, just a hair under on threes in these 11 games. The world, Jeff, has never seen anything like this type of shooting.
Bob, he's averaging his career high right now, 31.4 points a game.
And this
is a guy that played 5 games last season. They were horrible. It's not like he missed a significant amount of time, and he has come back on a team without Klay Thompson and been more effective. Like he's shooting 49% from the field, Bob, 43% from 3, 92 from the line still.
Naturally.
I mean, this is a guy who again is in what, 3, 6, 9, 12th year, and he's playing the best basketball of his career, Bob. Listen, he amazes me, and he is just so exciting and fun to watch. And the biggest compliment I can give Steph, here's the biggest compliment. On the court, he's amazing. Off the court, he hasn't changed. Steph is still the same dude.
Good to know.
Other than, obviously, everybody knows who he is now, as opposed to when he was at Davidson, or even as a young guy coming into the league. But like, Steph Curry hasn't changed. Like, I'll see him in the locker room when I see him, and he'll come right up to me before the game, whatever, and just start talking. And that's not a lot of guys.
No, I know.
Like, a lot of guys at his level are big timers. They don't want to talk before games. They don't want to talk after. Steph is just Steph. He really hasn't changed.
In that sense,
it's awesome. I mean, he's one of those guys that again, like, just gets it in every single way. And I like his like celebration kind of dances. I don't mind it from Steph because I don't think it's coming from like a major showboating place. That dude could showboat on every shot he makes if he wants to, and he doesn't.
What's underrated is how well he goes to the hoop.
Yeah.
When he's not making awesome threes, and from what we now, let's face it, he has given birth to a new spot on the court, Jeff, officially. Curry land. If someone makes a three, 2, 3, 4 feet behind the line now, we automatically say that's from Curry land. He has
crazy.
made that a shooting location that others are now emulating, and it's just.
Yeah, look at Dame Lillard, right? Like, if Steph doesn't come along, is Dame Lillard ever Dame Lillard?
No, I don't think so.
Right?
I mean, not to this way. No, it's an inspiration. And he's changing. You know how I feel about the three. Okay, but that's as long as it's here and I can't do anything about it. If you're going to use it, you might as well use it the way he uses it. He has every right to crank up these shots. And so it's
so. All right, Bob. Here, as somebody who is such a historian of the game and has seen everybody for the most part come through.
Yep.
So when Steph, let's say he plays, what is Steph now? 32?
33.
33. Okay. Let's say he gives it another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And plays at this level. I don't know if they're going to win another title. Let's say he does not win another title, for argument's sake. Let's just say, they're in the mix, but they don't win another title. Where does Steph Curry go down among the greatest players, not shooters?
Right, players. No.
Forget about shooters. Like, yes, he's arguably the best shooter of all time. But players of all time, what range does he go in right now?
We we know for sure he's in the top 20. Now we can go down. I'd have to say, how can a guy with this proficient at this important aspect of the game not be in the top 15? Now we get down to the 10 and we start thinking about the names that we're talking about and who has to get kicked out, and it's going to be a very, very interesting. I thought about this a little bit, where this guy's going to rank, when we have to acknowledge I'm one of the many saying he's the greatest shooter we've ever seen. So that's a rather good calling card for the entrance into the discussion of greatest player, especially since it's not like he ignores defense. It's not like he's horrible.
He's actually gotten better. I feel like, honestly, he doesn't get enough credit. He was horrible coming in the league, but I feel like he's probably above average now.
And the other thing is, where does 38 points, and 10 assists. He can get you 10 assists. He can get you 10, 12, 8, 9, 10 assists. Yes. They come from somewhere. So the thing that's interesting is I had this discussion with someone the other day. They said, where's he rank among point guards? I said, he's not a point guard. I refuse to rank him as a point guard. He is a guard. He is a 2 who can pass. He's a 2 who passes. And that's what he is. He is not a pure instinctual job description point guard. I don't care, by the way, but don't be telling me he's a point guard. I'm sorry. He is a 2 who can pass. And so I think, and I'll give you another one historically. Yep. Who, by the way, I don't want to, people are starting to, forget Allen Iverson. He was a 2 who could pass.
Yeah.
But he was.
Score. He really could score, but you're right.
He's a great consummate scorer, and he could pass, but that wasn't what he was all about. John Stockton, that's a point guard. Rondo, that's a point guard. But not these guys that we're talking. Not Steph Curry. He's not a point guard. This is an academic, artistic discussion. I didn't answer your question, which is where are we going to rank him?
Well, can you put him ahead of Kobe? Let's start there. Let's start with Kobe or Steph. Now, Kobe obviously he's going to win more titles. He's going to have more titles unless Steph goes on a run here, which I don't expect.
It's a hard one because Kobe was such a consummate two-way player. Kobe is the 1A Michael in that regard. If I had to win a game tonight and I had both of them at their A game, I'd take Kobe. I'd have to.
How about Shaq or Steph?
Oh, well, I'm not the world's biggest Shaq fan.
So you go Steph.
I put him on the pecking order historically ahead of Shaq. Yes.
Tim Duncan, who's going in the Hall of Fame?
He's the greatest power forward ever. Duncan. All right, look, let's talk about the inviolates. First of all, I say this all the time. Any of these discussions, there's 3 centers off the bat. I know centers don't exist anymore, but they did exist, and they're basketball history. So in some order you want. I'm not even going to worry about which order. Russell, Kareem, and Wilt are they're in the top 10 and in the top, maybe even top 5. Now you got Magic and Michael. Magic and Michael. That's 5. You got Larry. That's 6. You got Duncan. That's 7. That is my top 7 for sure.
Well, LeBron.
And LeBron is 8. I'm sorry. 8. Right. Okay. LeBron and Larry. There's your 8.
That's your top 8.
For sure.
Can't disagree.
All right. Now the fun starts.
Right. Now is where who's next? Who's next at this point? Is it open? Is Steph in the mix?
Yes.
He's in the mix.
Now. You have the old timers. You got Oscar and Jerry. You have to,
Kobe. You got Kobe. You got Hakeem.
Right. You got Hakeem, who's the greatest non-American born player.
Can KD get there? Can KD get in that mix?
A little bit lower. Okay. Now I know people equate him. What would you take, Duncan or Garnett if you had to?
Duncan over KG every day for me.
Okay, well but they were great peers and rivals. I guess.
Yeah. I go Duncan over KG.
No, I think Garnett is in the 15. With
20-ish.
Yeah, along with Dirk. Don't forget. Dirk.
Yeah. Duncan, Dirk would be there. Where's Jerry West?
Jerry West and Oscar.
Is Jerry West closer to 10? Are you putting him?
Yeah. Well, it's hard. Would you take Kobe or Jerry? Kind of thing. That's the great Laker quandary. And I have to grudgingly, admit that I'd have to say I'd have to say Kobe.
I would too.
You know?
I would too.
But
No, I
don't
didn't see
forget
Jordan
Oscar.
like you did.
Oscar. Oh my God! People see the kids. No, the people today just don't have any concept
Right.
of what Oscar was. You just look at the numbers and you know that he was the most metronomically perfect technician of all time. Oscar. Oscar was a human clinic every night. How to pass, how to dribble, how to shoot, how to rebound. His technique was flawless. You know, and he was.
Steph's going to be. Steph's going to be the best player of this era, is he not? Is there any? I mean, like KD would be the only one.
KD is, yeah, KD certainly is.
Who could pass?
Depending on how he finishes out his career, he's certainly in this discussion. You know, he's a remarkable player. There's no question about it.
Hey, do you cringe every time I say that Jason Tatum's going to be a Hall of Famer?
Oh no! I'm hoping he follows that trajectory. No, I'm with you. I'm definitely on his side. You know, I root for him, and I think he's shown us the world in the last month what he's capable of. Yeah. And now,
and he still doesn't look like. One game he'll look dominant. The other night he looked slow. He looked like, again, just, you know, he has those days where and he tried to explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
That even texting me, like, I just don't feel right all the time. And he can't really explain
well, you know, he had it.
Yeah.
You know, he was positive and he had it. So, you know, that I think we can give him a little slack on that regard. And, you know, I'm willing to cut him that slack, but of course, you know, I'm predictably biased in his favor, you know, so, you know, but
the question for me is if they can get Clay back healthy. And I don't know if Clay's going to ever be what he was.
2 years out, boy, that's going to be some haul.
Right.
I hope they do. He's talking about, you know, a guy that deserves a better fate.
Could they make a run now with LeBron getting older, right?
Yeah.
LeBron's getting older. We're seeing the Nets, and we'll talk about Harden here in a second, the Nets, but I mean, can you count on any of those three to be healthy? Like, are they really going to have all three healthy?
We don't know.
The entire playoffs?
There's two great imponderables as we look down the road. And we don't, this pointless to even talk about it until we see, hey, them Lakers and them. You know, how's LeBron going to be? How's Davis going to be? And then the whole thing with realize the Nets folks have this trio has played 7 games together. 7 this season. I think they're 5-2 in those 7 games. They played 7 games. I mean, so we don't know what they're going to be at all. They're going to be a mystery guest as they enter the playoffs.
And Harden's got this hamstring, right? The hamstring is acting up.
Hamstrings
he re-aggravated it, so he may not be back till the playoffs. And if that's the case, can they figure this thing out on the fly? Maybe in the East they can. Yeah. And again, the good thing for them is they're looking across the aisle and they're seeing the Lakers, and they haven't been healthy either. So it's almost like a war of attrition to me this year in the NBA, even more so than in the bubble. I think it was easier in the bubble in a way. Now it's like, because of the condensed season, right? Because they didn't have as much time off after the bubble. The teams that went deep till this season, they're playing more games in a condensed time now. I just think you're going to have more injuries. You already have. And now it's just going to be whoever's got the healthiest team, you know, come NBA playoffs is going to have a chance. And that's where, like, I don't count any of these teams out. People like Milwaukee, the Celtics, like, can they win it? Probably not.
Miami.
Yeah, I mean, like, who knows?
Miami. I think they're going to be a problem for people in the East.
If they get healthy, right? Yeah, if they get healthy, why won't they be?
Yeah, they will.
I mean, again, they've got the pieces. They just, like so many other teams, we haven't seen. I mean, listen, the Celtics, they got most everybody back now, but they still don't get their newest piece. He's played 4 games.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. All right, speaking of just quickly, Parker, where'd that come from? Wow.
I mean,
and then to sign him
in his sleep. Bob, he can score in his sleep.
And then to sign him for 2 years right off the bat.
I know. Kind of strange. But again, you know, to me, I think Danny finally realized it. Like, am I going to do better than that? I going to hold out, but am I going to do better than Jabari Parker, who I know in that second unit will give me a guy that people have to respect? At least he can, he's not good defensively, but ultimately you put him in that second unit as opposed to some of the other guys. Like, who would you rather have, him or Shemi?
Oh, it was a crying need. We've been talking about it for 2 years.
So now you add him and Fournier,
And Fournier.
to the
So
second
we
unit.
don't know what they're going to look like either at that point,
Right.
So
I mean,
we can say that about so many teams, but the two teams that people, the preponderance of people have their eye on are, of course, the Nets and the Lakers, and it's they're right now the Nets are going to be a complete mystery guest. The Lakers, we know what to anticipate if they get healthy. We know who they are, and we know that, but we don't know who the Nets are until we with a little more samples, a little larger sampling. We're not.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
I'll say this, Jeff. Durant's been in and out. Kyrie reminds you every now and then what an incredible talent he is.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane.
He wins a game last night.
Right.
He has 32. He makes big plays. He is an extraordinary talent.
What we need is somehow we need a Celtics Nets playoff series.
That'd be fun.
I don't know if we can get it. I mean, that would mean
the Celtics.
Listen, right now you're looking at it and you're saying, like, all right, the Celtics probably going to be in that 4-5 game. Now, right now, the Knicks are actually fifth, which is amazing to me. The Knicks are 32 and 20.
Let's get to the Knicks. All right. When they signed,
got to be coach of the year.
When they hired Tibbs, you said what?
Oh, I said no. Terrible hire. Terrible hire, because he's not going to be able to figure out these young kids are going to hate Tibbs because he grinds on you, and they may hate him in a couple of years, but as long as they're winning, Tibbs can coach his ass off. We know that. He is a terrific coach, but I just felt like with this young team, they would feel like they're playing in college again, and they don't want that. But listen, it's Julius Randle's team.
Yeah,
he's been awesome. There's been the Derrick Rose resurgence, and how much fun has that been?
I'm really happy for him.
Oh.
I just say I don't know if we've ever talked about this. We probably have. When I saw Derrick Rose in college up front in person at regional and the tournament and then the finals, so I saw him 3 or 4 times in person, and he did stuff that I've seldom seen.
Yeah. Be
careful of the words always and never, but he did 2 things that separated him from most other guys at that position. One was it just seemed he had the sense of an extraordinary late burst to the hoop. A late burst, like the late life on your fastball. He had a late life on his explosion to the hoop. I don't know how. And secondly, the ability to laterally move in the air, to go up on the left-hand side of the basket and somehow wind up scoring, and not just Kevin McHale, a 5-foot arm loop, but just the whole body somehow moved and laterally in a way that I'd never seen. And all which leads me to say that and this was the true of the old, to truly appreciate that Derrick Rose, you had to see him in person. Television wouldn't convey the feel that guy brought to the game. He was special. And that's why having a guy like that robbed of his extra layer that separated him and reduced him to just a pretty damn good player, as opposed to a, oh my God, player, which he was,
effortless too. It was effortless. That's what I always said when watching him. And I saw him. He's a part of the best backcourt I ever saw in AAU, which was him and Eric Gordon.
Oh, wow.
They were put together and they played off each other so well. And neither one said a word. 2 of the quietest kids you will ever meet. They don't say a word. They don't talk trash, nothing. They just went out there and handed everybody their lunch, just killed them. And it was actually that was the year Eric Gordon was already committed to Illinois. And Kelvin Sampson had his assistant, Jeff Meyer, trail him at every game at the Peach Jam, even though he was committed. And he eventually decommitted and went to Indiana. And I remember calling Kelvin after, and Kelvin denied it. And I'm like, Kelvin, you can deny all you want, but I was there. I was at the Peach Jam at every game. So I saw Jeff Meyer. Don't bullshit me. I know what you were doing. It worked, whatever. Was it ethical? Maybe not, but you did it. You did it. Listen, Derrick Rose, this team, again, I feel like when especially when they hired Leon Rose and Worldwide West to run the organization, I was like, this is going to be a shit show. There's no way this is going to work. And then they hired Tibbs, and they got all the guys. Their whole roster is like former Leon Rose clients or Kentucky players.
Yeah.
That's how they put this team together. I mean, you go down the line and they draft quickly. They bring in Nerlens Noel. Derrick Rose was a CAA guy. Like Randall, I think was all of them. I mean, just so many of them. Obi Toppin, Kevin Knox, Kentucky, all of it. I'm like, this is not going to work at all. This is going to be brutal. And now the question becomes, Bob, have they won enough to now put themselves in the equation where a Devin Booker or somebody of that ilk says, you know what? Yeah, I want to be in New York. I think I could take this franchise back. They've got enough good pieces.
That's a very good question. And already, in the New York press, they're already looking ahead. They're already assuming, as they love to do, no matter what sport, it's baseball, the Yankees, doesn't matter. Oh yeah, we have that. We deserve you.
Right.
We deserve you. And so they're beating the drums already to see what's going to, because, the great failed thing of recent times was, of course, LeBron. Yeah. They had this fantasy, this wet dream that they were going to get LeBron, and that never even came close.
Well, then they missed on KD, and he goes to Brooklyn.
Right, and he goes to Brooklyn. Yeah. So, but I'm of the opinion, and I know it's a cliche, and I know it's insupportable in terms of empirical evidence, that the league will be better off. It'll help the league when you have a good New York team. I believe in that. And I think having a polarizing team, people will line up, if they're good enough to hate again, so much for that's great. That's great. And they've been a joke for too long. And with that one year that Mike Woodson sneaked in a 54-win season when nobody was looking, other than that, we know they have won one playoff series since 99 when they got to the finals. And I believe that's it, right? They won one, or they played one, but no, they won one, I think.
I mean, look at this team, though. Like Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Derrick Rose, Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quickley, Elfrid Payton, Reggie Bullock, Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens
Noel.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not exactly a who's who.
Great on paper, does it? Well, Tibbs has got them to defend. Their defensive metrics and numbers are good.
Yep,
they're good. And by the way, you mentioned our local boy makes good, or local man makes good. I got to be careful with the word, of course. Nolan's Noel. Yeah, he's helping them.
Yeah, no, he's been good since Mitchell Robinson went out.
Yeah, since Robinson went out,
he's good.
And he's helping them.
Listen, that 4 through 7 deal is kind of, it could go any which way, right? Sure. Atlanta, the Knicks, the Celtics, and Miami can go any which way. You got to get in that 4 or 5 like that for all those teams. You don't want to be, to me, 6, 7, because 6 is going to play Milwaukee or they're probably Milwaukee unless Brooklyn falls. And 7, you might face Brooklyn in the first round. So you really, if you want to win a playoff series, you got to get in that 4 or 5 spot. And then it's a kind of a toss-up deal. Philly and Brooklyn right now, I would assume it'll end up being Philly. We'll get the number 1 seed and get, a Charlotte, maybe Indiana. Indiana should go on a run here, but with LaMelo coming back soon, maybe Charlotte holds them off for the 8th spot. But to me, again, coach of the year, Tibbs. I was wrong about the Knicks, but I still want to see if the Knicks can capitalize on this, or if this is kind of a 1-year deal.
It's too bad about crowds, because they would be filling that house with.
Oh, you're right.
Now they would be, yep. And it's so maybe next year, maybe it'll be a place to go to again, and that would be good.
If you're the Knicks, would you want Karl Anthony Towns? Is he a guy that you feel like is worth it to take on, and a guy that you can build around, or do you say no to Karl Anthony? He's from New Jersey.
Yeah.
What do you do with him?
But I mean, you tell me, because you're close. Is but what exactly is it?
That he's not a killer.
Yeah,
that's not. He's probably a good number 2 guy, and really, like, maybe he can be like Julius Randle is proven right now. He's an all-star. I mean, I'd rather Julius Randle than Karl Anthony Towns right now.
Suddenly a triple-double candidate.
He's awesome.
And, no, but Towns is skilled. Yes, no question.
Yeah.
I answer your question. Yeah, I would.
I mean, Booker's got 2 more years in Phoenix, and they're winning now.
Yeah.
So, like, why would Devin Booker go to New York right now when they're finally winning in Phoenix? I don't think he would, as long as, again, Chris Paul's got a few more years left, and they feel like they can have a legitimate shot at going deep.
Well, if that's the case about Paul, I mean, he's fooled me. How well he's worn, how well he's held up.
Keeps his body in great shape, and mentally, he's an absolute beast. Mentally, I'm not a big Chris Paul fan as a guy. We've had our run-ins a little bit, but I respect the hell out of Chris Paul in terms of just his competitiveness. People told me stories. Coaches have told me stories. He's the guy that, like, literally they're playing pickup, and he's playing pickup like it's an NBA Finals game.
That sounds like Michael.
Yeah. Just like not only competitive, but also competitive with the thought of teaching the young guys.
No.
I mean, like, whoever the young guys are, this is how you play all the time. You're not screwing around.
Remember, for people who don't know, early on Michael's career in the Doug Collins era, they had a blow up because Doug wasn't keeping score in the scrimmage.
That's right.
That offended Michael greatly.
Yep. Everything got to be competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Paul is an old school guy like that. He is. He could have played in the 80s. No problem. He would have fit in.
I can see that.
I don't know who the Knicks go after. I mean, that's the interesting question. They're going to need somebody else to get to a higher level. But what they've done is super impressive. All right, let's close with one college topic. Actually, you have a stat.
I want to bring up.
Get to that.
Yeah, just quickly. I was just glancing at the paper. It's almost a week gone by now, and they had the statistical leaders of the NBA, and I'm looking at the top rebounders. And I'm looking, and I said, "Whoa! I don't know what this means. We're going to talk about what this means." The top 8 rebounders in the league per game, as of 5 or 6 days ago, were all Europeans.
Read them off. Who are they?
1, Clint Capella of Switzerland. 2, Rudy Gobert of La Belle France. 3, Valanciunas, forget his first name, of Lithuania. 4, Eric Cantor of Turkey. 5, Vucevic, Montenegro. 6, Donatas Sabonis, Lithuania. 7, Ioannis Antetokounmpo of Greece. And 8, Nikola Jokic of Serbia. And then number 9 is a guard, Westbrook. Where are the American big men?
They're standing out shooting threes.
Where are the American big men?
You can't get rebounds when you're standing outside the 3-point arc.
But all right. But right. Sabonis is a shoot. Actually, no. The only one of those a pure 3-point guy is this Jokic there in the whole list, right? Yeah,
but he's big and strong and still goes down and does work. Like,
so, but isn't that
so much for the soft Europeans, Bob? So much for the they're skilled. They're skilled and tough. That's what they are.
Thing for sure. If that doesn't just put a punctuation mark on the globalization of the NBA in the 21st century, nothing else I can say to you would. And once again, rest his soul, Boris Stankovic, who was the man who basically insisted on the Dream Team back in 1992, and that just fast forwarded everything in the world to get to the point where we have a moment in April of 2021 where the top 8 rebounders in the NBA are all European born and bred. The only one of these guys who played American college, 2, Cantor never played, did he? Cantor never played a second.
Cantor didn't play a day. He didn't play.
It's Sabonis.
He played at Gonzaga.
And he played it was essentially an international branch. Gonzaga might as well be located in Nice.
it's amazing. I'm looking down the rebounding leaders for the last few years, and Andre Drummond, 3 straight years. Whiteside was one. DeAndre Jordan was a few. Dwight Howard, Kevin Love, KG,
Yeah.
Ben Wallace, Rodman. I mean, like, you go back and like, but it has changed. It has absolutely changed.
So for what, that's a the for what it's worth department, but it is intriguing, don't you think? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't have known that unless you told me, and I don't know. I'm just not sure who it is that's going to be that guy that can come in. I'm trying to think of like somebody.
Well, number 10 is the first American, Ayton. He's the first. And then next up, his name has come up in the conversation already. Randall.
Yeah, Randall. I think Bam Adebayo could be a guy that could be.
By the way, what if someone told you 2 years ago, or even last year, the Heat were going to run a clock down to win a game, and the guy who would be going ISO 10, 9, 8. I'm sitting, honest to God, Jeff, I'm not lying. I'm sitting in my easy chair, my chair, the chair. Everybody has the chair, right? And I'm going, do something. And I don't care who wins the game.
Right.
I'm just the patron of the art here. I don't care who wins the game. I'm watching this game, and I'm going, because I'm offended that he's doing this, Bam Adebayo hits the game winner at the buzzer, ISOing.
He's talented. He's got so much talent. People don't even realize how talented he is and the things he can do. All right. I will give you a guy who will be a good rebounder in a few years. His name
Tell
is
me about Clint Holmgren.
Chet Holmgren.
Chet Holmgren, excuse me.
Chet Holmgren.
Tell me about Chet Holmgren. Like
7 feet. He's 7 feet, like 195 pounds, soaking wet. And he is a complete goofball. And he's a guy who just makes fun of himself. I mean, got like floppy hair, doesn't look the part, wasn't very good years ago. I did an interview with him and this kid, Paolo Banchero, who's going to Duke this year. In the pandemic, I had them both on, and they were both awesome. But Chet was just, again, like that big guy who is comfortable in his skin. There aren't many of them. Those 7-footers that can make fun of themselves.
That is a book that has never been written, which or at least it's a great magazine article. Yeah. The Psychology of the Big Man. Yeah. Oh, we could talk about that. I can give you my own chapter and verse on people, that the psychology of them. But anyway, I'm glad to hear that about him, because it's a very
Chet's going to need to put on weight, but the number one player, or arguably the number one player, him and Paolo, who, like I said, is going to Duke. Holmgren is the number one player right now, and he's going to Gonzaga, and nobody's surprised. I mean, this was like in the works for forever. He could have went to the G League and probably made. My guess is the G League probably would have paid him upwards of $700,000-800,000, somewhere of that ilk. But he's from Minnesota, same program.
I love this high school. Minnehaha.
Can't
make this shit up, folks.
And man, I saw him a few years ago, and he is just fun to watch because he competes. Like, he knows he doesn't have that Bill Lambert body. No. He goes in there and bangs, and he is not afraid of anybody, and he'll talk shit on the court, and he'll have fun doing it.
I can't. You got me fired up to see this kid.
Drew Timme and Chet Holmgren next year up front, and we need Andrew Nembhard to come back. That's the key, because they need to have a point guard. They got a kid, Hunter Salas, who's coming in, who's a top 10 recruit also. So Gonzaga, how about this? Gonzaga, Bob, has 2 of the top 10 players in the country, recruits coming in next year. Do you know how many Kentucky has?
Zero.
Like, what is going on? What has happened with college basketball?
No, I know. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about that a lot next year, I'm sure. Oh my God. No, the whole Gonzaga thing is it's just fabulous. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
and with Chet Holmgren.
How about Scott Drew? Scott Drew today did a Instagram live interview with my daughter, with Talia, today.
Oh, really? Huh? Yeah.
And not only did he do it, he kept asking her, when do you want to do it? For the last 2 weeks. Like, the guys won a national title. And, it's always these things. like when somebody does something for your kids, you never, ever, ever forget it, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
Like that,
Right.
you're putting them on a different pedestal.
Yeah.
And Scott Drew has been amazing with my daughter. And in even early on in the pandemic, when she started doing these interviews with athletes, saying how great she was doing, telling her to do more, having me try to integrate her in some of like we did one last week with Scott Drew and 40 former and current Baylor players. Jared Butler, we hosted it. He wanted Talia to be involved in it. So we hosted it together. And like that stuff, you never forget that as a father.
No,
you
no.
never forget that.
No. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Always good to hear about a good guy.
So yeah, Gonzaga, the number one player in the country, Chet Holmgren. And I'm telling you, Bob, like it's going to be it always is with Gonzaga, especially in the non-conference early. They'll play some good teams. I think they're playing Duke early on in the season next year. But that combination, those two big men, and I think Drew Timme will come back. I think he needs to come back, and he knows it. He's probably a second round pick right now. And with Holmgren, he'll be more of a featured, he put up numbers anyway, but he can get better. Like there's certain things that he's got to improve on, his lateral quickness, his outside shot, like he's got to become more like everybody these days. You better be able to make a shot from 15, 18 feet consistently. Yeah. And really, he hasn't done much of that at Gonzaga. So I think he and Holmgren will be fun. But just amazing again that Gonzaga is getting the number one player in the country, and nobody's surprised.
It's an appeal. I mean, it is amazing. I guess, but we're getting more and more used to it. We're now in year 22.
Yeah.
This all started to blossom in 1999 when they went to the Final Eight. Were defeated by UConn.
Right.
Calhoun's first, as he went on to win his first championship, and that team with Matt Santangelo and Richie Frame and Casey Calvary.
Casey Calvary was a big piece.
Yeah. And I discovered them personally the next year in your town, Tucson.
Oh, is that where they played that year?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah. So anyway, and Mark Few's first year, and yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we will be back next week. We'll have another stat from Bob. Bob will come up with something every week.
Don't you'll be putting pressure. You're putting pressure
on you. It's. I think you can do it. I know you can do it. Between box scores and
all
stats.
Right, well, there we go.
Come up with
Speaking
something
of which,
every week.
I was reminded of the April 20th is the 35th anniversary of Michael Jordan's 63-point game.
Oh, it is.
And in the course of the game, the Bulls were 0 for 2 on threes, and the Celtics were 3 for 9. And Michael had 22 field goals, 19 free throws, and no threes for 63. And Larry had 2 of those threes. He had 36, 12, and 8. And without the benefit of the 3, except 2 extra points they got from the 3, the final score of the game was 135-131. Of course, it was 2 overtimes, but Oh, right.
Now we don't need 2 overtimes to get to 266.
Oh, and I got to leave you with this one, and we began talking about Steph and what he's doing. It's historic. We've never seen anything like it. I will say this: if the game had been different, if the encouragement was there, we don't know what Larry would have done. But I will tell you this: there was a road trip in 1986 in February, 4 or 5 game road trip that they went on, and Larry went 25 for 34 on threes in that road trip. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think Larry would have, and he hated. He thought the 3 was. He didn't like it. He didn't philosophically. He was, but hey, it's there. I might as well.
He would have embraced it even more, right? Imagine him in this era. And right. I mean, how much he would have worked on it. I would have bet on Larry. I would have bet on Larry being. Maybe not Steph, but maybe the number 2 shooter in
all right, I'm going to exit. I know we've been said, but I have to. We're talking threes. We're talking Larry. My favorite Larry Bird 3 story, which is one night in Chicago before the game. He's shooting. I'm talking to him, and I said, "I'll bet you $5 you can't make a left-hand 3-pointer." And he said, "Out of how many?" I said, "All night." So he goes in the corner naturally. Smart thing. Second one, swish. So I hand him the 5, and he goes like this. And he puts it inside his sock, And to this day, I pray and hope that he played that whole game with that $5 bill.
I'm sure he did.
And I bet he did.
I'm sure he did. No, listen, that's what we should do. At some point, we should try to get like 3 guys on who played against Larry in his heyday to just tell like Larry trash talk stories.
I'd love to get, yeah. Oh yeah. There's
right.
Sure. Be great.
I mean, I think we can do it. We can do it. We'll try to get that going at some point here in the off season. All right. Well, listen, appreciate everybody joining us as always. The Ryan and Goodman podcast. You can find it anywhere you listen to your pods. You can watch us on Twitter. We have it on every single week, and we'll be back next week.